Town fluffed their lines on one of the biggest afternoons of the Premier League season so far, but it's okay because Stuart Attwell's a Luton fan.
And he'll never have to buy a pint in Luton again.
We'll explain exactly what we're getting at, look back at that nasty afternoon and reveal the winners of our prize giveaway, all after this intro.
Can you believe it? We are Premier League! Yes!
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast. As I said before the intro, we're going to do a very brief look back at Luton Town 1, Brentford 5, and then we'll reflect on lots of other things around it. And of course, we will go through get the winners of the giveaway that we offered up last week. Alongside me to look back on it all, I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe as always. Jimbo, it was that bad yesterday. I'm almost inclined to let the listeners listen to half an hour of the entertainment downstairs, and can't be no worse, can it?
Nobody needs that in their life.
No, they don't. I'm not so sure they need 5-1 against Brentford in there. What is it about bloody Brentford? Every single time we come up against this lot, we turn them into peak Barcelona. That Brazil 1970 team's got absolutely nothing on what we make Brentford look when they come against us. It says everything about it that we got absolutely smacked up 5-1 yesterday, and it wasn't even the worst defeat in memory against this lot. For some reason, we just fall apart whenever Brentford are in town. It's just crazy. I mean, they're good, and they were very good yesterday, but they're not that good. Otherwise, they wouldn't be 5th, 6th from bottom or wherever they are.
It was a miserable afternoon. It was the worst performance of the season. Just when you didn't want it to happen, just when players come back at 2:00, I was delirious. It was tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies, because he'd done an old switcheroo on us and told us that loads of players weren't available. They turned up on the team sheet and you think, now, here we go. Because Lokonga and Osho on there, Mengi was back, Issa Kabore back. No Ivan Toney for them, and you're thinking, happy days, this is going to be good. And then fast forward to 5:00 and I was absolute despondent, as I think many people were. And I felt that way when I woke up, and I felt that way at midday, and I felt that way at 3:00 as well on Sunday afternoon. And then Nottingham Forest had a complete and utter Twitter meltdown. Way! And I feel much, much better.
Yeah, we'll come on to that Twitter meltdown in a minute.
Let's do that first.
No, we'll come on to it in a minute, it's just so funny, but because I want to bring it into the overall scheme of how they're feeling the pressure and everything else. You're right. Rob had lied to you. Rob lied to you, not Annie Lennox. Rob lied to you, and they were sweet lies. I mean, you know, Gabe Osho is one of the people that I spoke to at the training day that we alluded to in the preview, as was Sambi Lokonga, and they both did tell me they were going to be available for Brentford. So I did kind of have an inkling that Rob was keeping his cards very close to his chest, and I was delighted that was the case. But within 5 minutes, you could see Gabe and Ted, and I mean, they're on one leg each, really, aren't they? They were putting themselves out there rather than, you know, putting it into it, because they're just not fit. I mean, Ted was so passive and tentative in everything that he did because he don't want to go down again, and that's just so not him. He's a warrior. He'll throw himself into absolutely everything that he can do. I mean, you could see, like, he would gobble up Wissa for breakfast, really, but there was a couple of times where all he could do was run side by side with him, and then Gabe as well. You know, a couple of times Kaminsky gave him the ball and he gave him a mouthful because he clearly didn't want it. He's not fit either. So they're out there, and the names on the team sheet's a boost, but within 5 minutes you're like, oh shit, we're man, if not two man down here, because they were there in body, but just not in the energy that was needed, really.
This is one of the worrying things, really, because I think we were all probably labouring under the pretension that, if we can get some bodies back, we might be all right. But this is the Premier League, and they've been out so long, they're going to take a while to get up to speed, and we ain't got a while. They had to be straight at it. And, the difference from that, getting the team sheet at 2:00 to seeing that and realising that Brentford were on top was a big realisation, I think. And it's a worrying one, because we want those players to be back. We know that the team would be, well, in theory, more strengthened when they come back. But as it turned out, we've been playing better with no defenders, really, at the moment. I'm not having a go at those two at all, to be fair. They've been out, and it's needs must, really. But I don't really know what the solution is there, because the whole reason behind Edwards keeping his cards close to his chest and telling porkies, really, and I've got no problem with that, actually. It was the greatest lie that anyone's ever told me. I've never been so happy. But it was a lie, because a journalist, Sky Sports journalist, ran through all the players and asked who's going to be back, and he said no to all of them apart from Mengi, who might be back. So, and then for him to be on the team sheet, I've never been more delighted, because I was going to that game thinking, well, we're going to have to, it's going to be Threadbare FC against Brentford FC, and it wasn't. So, but then, yeah, you see the game play out, and those two probably weren't at the level that they would want to be. I thought Sammy was quite good, sort of back to his best, which is good, because we'd missed those driving runs.
Well, within 2 minutes, he glided past Jensen like he wasn't there, and Jensen's a good player. He's always been a good player for Brentford. He's their kind of man that ticks them. And he glided past him, didn't he? He just went round in a circle and away. And he'd done that 2 or 3 times in the first 10 minutes. And he's pinging that diag ball to Alfie, and all's good in the Sambi world. That's the real positive.
Yeah.
Sambi's fine. Yeah, he took him off 20 minutes ago. There was no point in flogging the guy. 4-0 down, game's done.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, Morris and Barkley would have gone as well. There was nothing to gain from keeping them on the pitch either. As it turned out, they're both fine. And of course, they're professionals. They want to see it through, and that's absolutely fine. Where we have to hope now is that the 90 minutes, and to be fair to Gabe and Ted and Mengi, they put themselves through for the whole 90 minutes. Not once did they look over to the bench and say, look, we're 4-0 down here, get me off. Pointless me carrying on or any of that. They put themselves through it for 90 minutes. Clearly, they're in pain. You only have to look at them. They're clearly in pain. They're playing through pain, and that should be kudos to them for doing that. You just got to hope that having got them 90 minutes into their legs, it just gets whatever hasn't been working in their bodies recently a little bit more up to speed, and that next Saturday, because they're going to have to play next Saturday. We've lost Issa Kabore. We don't know how long we've lost Issa Kabore for, but I always think when someone tries to carry on and can't, that's pretty much serious. If someone goes off, you think, well, they might have just gone off as a precaution for next week. But when they try and can't, then you're kind of in trouble. So I think we might have lost Kabore for next week. So we're going to need Gabe. We're going to need Ted. I mean, to compound the misery even more, poor old Reece Burke's been ill all week. 1 or 2 others are led to believe were also ill within the camp over the last week. And it all compounded to a defensive disaster class against, 3 lively strikers. I mean, no Ivan Toney, but, and Buemo's caused us problems forever and a day. Wissa looked really, really good, apart from that one in the 6-yard box that he kicked into his own face. And I mean, Lewis Potter, he should have opened the scoring, shouldn't he, within the first 10 minutes. When he missed that, you were thinking, well, maybe they're not taking this too seriously, because that was a sitter. But that was just a prelude for what was to come, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, and they've hit the bar as well, and Mengi's put in an unbelievable block on a Potter drive that probably would have at least troubled Kaminsky, if not gone in. There's no question that they were the better side, and they deserved that, but it's always a sucker punch. That first goal was a sucker punch. Everything else was Luton's own fault undoing.
Because we weren't massive second best, were we, at the time that the first goal came along? We weren't the best. We weren't on the front foot. We weren't ourselves or anything like that. But we were competitive in the game. I mean, Alfie had hit a shot straight at the keeper, hadn't he, after a ricochet from Chong, I think it was, trying to get the ball across. And you kind of got the feeling that we weren't building up a head of steam, but we were like just sort of starting to tick. And then, Barkley contests the ball in the middle of the park. It breaks to their guy who's got it up to Mbuemo straight away. Within seconds, it's on to Wissa, and he doesn't even look, does he? He's just put it in the top corner. Kaminsky, absolutely no chance. And from there onwards, it was a downward spiral that we got to rock bottom pretty quickly.
It's a frustrating thing because, they were competitive. It wasn't great. The start wasn't amazing. The crowd were very quiet. That's another thing I think we're probably going to have to speak about. But then the goal comes along. It's a stunner. It's a worldie. And this is the difference. It's what we've found so many times in the Premier League, that there's players that can do that. We talk about Wissa. I think you even mentioned in the preview, don't really fancy him that much, but he cost £8.5 million, and that's what £8.5 million can do. You can whack a goal in from 25 yards, top bins.
It's amazing how many strikers in this league can't score from 2 yards, but can score from 25 yards, because he's another one to add to the collection, because he had that chance, didn't he? It came across to him in the 6-yard box. He only had to put it in. And for some way, he chipped it up, and I think it hit his chin, and we sort of scrambled it away. We had the Issa Kabore one where it was an exact Tottenham replica, except this time he somehow shoveled it over the crossbar and got it away. It was just an absolute terrible day at the office, which we're not going to go through. We don't need to run through it again. You don't need to hear it again. The boys don't need to be reminded of it or any of that. It was a terrible day at the office. Some seriously soft goals. Goal 2 is an embarrassment, really. You can't dress it up as anything else but that. We've got 4 different times to clear the ball, and it just trickles in off of... He doesn't even shoot, does he? It just hits him, really. Trickles over the line. What was that? Minute before half-time? Had we got in at 1-0, who knows? He might have been able to rouse a response, but when the second one went in, it was blatantly obvious that we weren't coming back in this one. Then you've got a corner for the third one. Then you've got the fourth one. In no way, shape or form is Mbuemo crossing that to Lewis Potter at the back stick. He's trying to go for goal, gets it that badly wrong that mate is in at the back stick. Again, Fred's done a Kabore, not noticed that he's there. And then the fifth one's just absolutely embarrassing, isn't it? So serious days to forget. Should just give a shout out to Luke Berry. Didn't quit. Rob's mentioned an awful lot this season about scoring the last goal. I mean, it means absolutely nothing, this last goal. But that's the second Premier League goal to Luke Berry. You don't know how many more minutes he's got left as a Premier League footballer. So, and again, that's absolutely no disrespect. And so kudos to him. He was lively, terrible pass into him, goes past the defender, rounds the goalkeeper and puts it into an empty net. Similar to the Barkley one last week, actually, in very similar circumstances, merely a consolation. Little bit of something to cheer for those that hung around that long, but not going to live in the memory at all.
No, and if you're really scratching around for any positives, and you are scratching around, then it's another goal, isn't it? When you've played so abjectly bad and you've still managed to score a goal, and you could say that Brentford probably didn't have their eye on the ball as much as they probably should then. They were outstanding in their positional play. Everything they did thwarted any inroads Luton got. In fact, they just didn't have any in the second half. It was the Alfie shot that got saved. Chong should have done better with his shot straight after the first goal went in. Or was it just before?
Oh yeah, ballooned it straight over the bar, didn't he? Yeah.
And then after
first goal.
After that, nothing until Berry scored, and that's the really frustrating and disappointing thing. There was no verve from the team. There was no verve from the crowds, and it was just dead. And the killer was the second goal for me. We've been here before. We've talked about the moments that you concede goals, and conceding them right before half-time or right after half-time is an absolute killer. You get in at 1-0, I'm convinced you can make a game of it. You're not playing well, that's fair, but and maybe they still win, but the score is not 5-1. It's not humiliation. But
well, whenever we're 1-0, we're in the game because we always score. Whether we're 3 down, 4 down, 3 down against Chelsea, we score. 3 down against Man City, we score. 4 down, 5 down, we score. So when you're only 1-0 down, you only have to think back to Forest and Palace last month. When you're 1-0 down, the longer you stay in the game 1-0, you can be absolute horseshit. Let's be honest, we were terrible at Crystal Palace. Absolutely useless. We just could not get going at all. And that was down to the lack of energy after a busy period of time, and we all know the circumstances around that. But we were shockingly bad. They should have been 4-5. They should have done to us what Brentford did to us yesterday, Palace, but they didn't. We hung in and we got our goal. So we are capable of doing it, and that just shows really how abject it was. And I don't like using words like abject because these boys have got so much credit in the bank that they don't really deserve that thrown at them.
Haven't had to really this season. The first few games you're feeling it out, and the last one really was Brentford. It was that bad, but that proved a turning point. So again, if you're looking and scratching around for any positives, if there's one thing that can be said about drubbings that have happened in the past, there's been a reaction, and if this is a turning point, then that's probably the best you can hope for out of this result and this performance. It's the performance, isn't it, really? Because we've not had that. We've not had one for so long where it's been completely uncompetitive, and that's the disappointing thing.
It is. Of course, it's disappointing. None of us wanted to sit there and watch it. It was a hard watch, and there haven't been many hard watches this season. That has to be said. It was a hard watch, but sometimes you're better off getting wiped out in that situation where nothing's gone your way, where you've collectively been absolutely shocking, and the scoreline reflects it. Sometimes it's so much easier to go in on a Monday morning when you've been absolutely walloped, not been anywhere near the game. Okay, lads, that's a reminder. We've got to buck our ideas up now. We've got 4 games left to go. We can't do that again. We've got to get back to where we normally are. And you just mentioned, we got trolleyed by them 7 in the Championship. We won the next game. We got done 7 by Fulham in the Championship. We won the next game. We got done by Watford last season. We bounced back in the next game. These boys have a history of these shocking performances, and thankfully they're very, very rare. You get them once a season at worst, but when they do know, they take stock of it. They don't need me, you, James, or anyone to tell them that they've been bad. You only had to look at them at the end. They were embarrassed, and quite rightly so. They're not stupid. They know they've got to do better. They'll go in on Monday morning. They'll have it out in their meeting room like they do. Same as when they've won on a Monday morning, presumably Rob brings them back down to earth a little bit. This time they'll have it all out. And now it's up to them to show a reaction. And you look at Everton, absolutely terrible. I mean, we made Everton look good on Saturday, when they played against Chelsea. They were rancidly bad. And then they go and beat Forest on Sunday. So generally, when you're given an absolute toweling like we were yesterday, there is a professional pride reaction. And if we get a little bit more energy out of Ted and out of Gabe, and we got Samby there, and Rod's alluded after the game, and we'll hear from him shortly, that more bodies could be back. And I'm inclined to believe that Chio's one of those. If he comes back with his regular energy, all is not lost here. All we've done is missed a really good opportunity to give ourselves a real shot in the arm. But we are not lost here. We started the weekend a point behind Forest. Check notes. We finished the weekend a point behind Forest. And James alluded to their Twitter meltdown earlier. Alexa, show me a team who are under pressure without showing me a team who are under pressure. You don't come out with that shit if you're not feeling the pressure, right? Now, fair play to the social media dude who's done this. I mean, I'm assuming it's not you, Mark Clattenburg, who's got keys to the social media accounts, or the Greek owner who's got keys to. I'm assuming it is the social media guy who's just had enough and he's just gone on a rampage. I wish you well in your pursuit for another job on Monday morning, but I mean, Jesus Lord. I mean,
we should tell people, for anybody that has been living under a rock or perhaps doesn't have Twitter, if
you're feeling upset, and if we're making it worse, just pop along to Nottingham Forest's official Twitter account, if the tweet's still there. I mean, well, to be fair to them, we're recording this 4 or 5 hours after the tweet appeared. They've still got the balls to have left it there 3 hours. I mean, it's been shared everywhere anyway.
I mean, I've took a screenshot.
But it's still there. Amazingly, it's still there 4 or 5 hours later. And
well, listen, if you don't have social media and you haven't really heard of it, I'll read it out for you. Just so you can get the full extent of it. So are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin.
This is an official Twitter account.
3 extremely poor decisions, 3 penalties not given, which we simply cannot accept. We warned the PGMOL that VAR is a Luton fan before the game, but they didn't change him. Our patience has been tested multiple times. NFFC will now consider its options. End tweet. Unbelievable. Absolute meltdown. That is one of the most embarrassing things I have ever seen and ever read. And the fact that that's come from the official Notts Forest Twitter and not some bloke down the pub who's had a skinful and has got the ump is legendary. Thank you very much, Forest, for cheering me up.
I mean, the fact that it's still there, they can't even claim they've been hacked. Because if they've been hacked, they take it down, don't they? I mean, you know, I watched that Everton Forest game. Of course, we all watched that Everton Forest game as Luton fans because it was going to dictate, you know, everything from here onwards. And I thought, do you know what? It's going to take something to be more embarrassing than this Forest performance. And then the social media dude said, "Hold my beer. I've got this sorted out. Don't worry about that." And 5 minutes after the full-time whistle, there he goes.
It's an incredible piece of football literature that needs to go down in history. I mean, what the options they're considering is beyond me.
Here's an option for you. Rather than spend 270 million quid on absolute shit, why don't you buy a decent player who, you know, might be able to play some association football, or better still, why don't you give your money you're giving to your referee consultant who's too busy tapping up Sabre and Viper and, well, not Legend because he plays for us, as we all know, and put that money towards someone who can play football as well. Because, you know, ever since this bloke's come in, Clattenburg, their decisions have dried up, and it's not. No one likes this appointment of Clattenburg, right? It's an absolute farce in the game.
Yeah.
And the referees are seeing through it. Now, if you're not getting the decisions, why don't you think it through a little bit? And maybe the referees are revolting against this decision you've made. But also, I saw an interview with Paul Tierney. I can't remember which paper I saw it in, the referee. And the first team coach of Nottingham Forest, Stephen Reed, went on a God knows how many F&C expletives at him, and he got banned, didn't he? Now, if your first team coach is reacting to a referee like that, they all get together, these referees. There would be something in it. I maybe just start treating the referees with a bit more respect, and you might get a decision or two.
Yeah, maybe. So the VAR that they mentioned that tweet was Stuart Attwell, who I've only learned today is apparently a Luton fan.
No, he's not apparently a Luton fan.
Okay, so he's a Luton fan. And I think the Forest fans haven't quite twigged, and they might do now that...
Don't throw him under the bus.
Listen,
you're going to, aren't you?
I'm going to. The fourth official, Keith Stroud, he's a Luton fan as well. And he was the chairman of Bedfordshire FA for some time as well. So I can understand a little bit why Forest are going, well, how did that happen? But if you go along those routes, then those two men can't do any officiating against Burnley, Sheffield United, Everton, and half the league, they can't do it. It's got to only count when you're a referee. But as I said in the intro, Stuart Attwell will never have to buy a pint in Luton ever again. And it's absolutely hilarious. But on a serious note, Nottingham Forest have made a mockery of themselves there, made themselves a laughing stock. They've done what you've said in the refereeing community, probably tucked themselves up really badly there by alleging, what they've done there is they've alleged corruption. And by doing that, they could possibly, I don't know, you have to get some legal brains on this, I think they possibly could have set themselves up for some libel action there, because unless you've got incontrovertible proof of that, you don't come out and say that. Even if you do have the proof, you still don't come out and say it. You can think everything that they said in that tweet, and you can say it behind doors. But what you do is you go behind closed doors to the PGA, MOL, the Premier League, anyone you like, and you try and hash it out that way. But you don't blurt that out like a spurned teenager.
Yeah, it's just like Twitter. A kid who's had his candy nicked out of his pram, isn't it? I mean, that's what it is. I mean, really what should happen from here is the PGMOL should take this tweet to the Premier League and say, here you are, lads, when this appeal's heard next week, just file that in as some more of your evidence. This lot don't care anything for the rules. They only care for themselves. And is some more points on top. It would do the world. a massive favour if we relegate these idiots, wouldn't it? It would. We've had me all season long in our YouTube comments. They're absolute deluded fools. And this all comes about, where were they 2 years ago when they were frustrated with VAR when Huddersfield didn't get an absolute stonewall penalty in that playoff final against them? Oh no, they loved VAR then, didn't they? How funny, how bizarre. Idiots.
And there'll be loads of them coming on here complaining about this and that and that. But what they've done there by putting that tweet out, and if you back it, you've just made yourself out to be absolutely classless. And survival or relegation this season doesn't change this fact. Results go up, results go down. You can get relegated, you can get promoted. These things can change like the wind. But the way that your club is viewed by the world doesn't. And what they've done there is they've massively, taken the good name of that team, good name of that club, and taken a massive shit from great art in it. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've won lots of neutrals over this season, but that tweet alone, any that we hadn't won over, have just put them on our side to get even more, haven't they? I mean, it was just turning the sort of narrative was going back, wasn't it? That we are the club that everyone thought we were going to be. We've just been it sort of 30 games too late. Now everyone wants us to stay up again because they're tired of this fucking nonsense. And it's always Nottingham Forest, isn't it? They're moaning about this, that and the other. We couldn't sell Johnson in time, but you still kept on spending. We don't get no decisions from the VAR. I mean, boo bloody who. I'd love. I'm not Kevin Keegan. I am named similar of him, but I'm not. But I would bloody love it if we got these relegated. And if there's a world where Burnley can come out of the bottom three and Everton can join them as well, happy sodding days. Whoever's doing this appeal, though, take this into account, please. Football doesn't need this nonsense. The Premier League don't need it.
And this is the thing. I mean, if you're trying to get by on goodwill alone, I mean, we know that the Premier League make this crap up as they go along anyway. But you've not got as many points as you should have done for the other thing, the PSR thing, because you cooperated. But then you lodge an appeal, so then you're not cooperating. So then, in my view, you should get those points that you were supposed to do, get put back on. And then if you're going to go and say that, first of all, that's bad enough. But to complain and take it any further and expect that to be working in your favour when it comes to the appeal for the points that you shouldn't have, for the leniency of the points that you shouldn't have been given anyway, then I think the book needs to be thrown at them. And I think that the FA have come out and said that they're investigating the situation. Quite what they're investigating, I don't know. All you need to do is open Twitter. It's on there. That's all the investigation you need to do. They've said it there. And regardless of what's happened behind the scenes, or whether they've, as they've alleged, told the PGMOL that Attwell shouldn't have been there in the first place and apparently not been listened to, you don't get to pick who your referee, your officials are. You could have a referee that's not a supporter of that team that you're playing, or you can't go around throwing your weight around, which isn't considerable, by the way, and say, we can't have this guy, we can't have that guy, and can't have that guy. They're there to do a professional job.
It is where their owner's concerned. That's considerable weight. He's akin to Steve Evans. I saw someone say huge weight was lifted off of Stevenage this week when Steve Evans went to. It wasn't me, but I
don't think us two lads could be there.
We're the pot and the kettle in that regard. Howard Webb, if you're watching this, 4 games left for Nottingham Forest. Let's alternate Stuart Attwell and Keith Stroud as their referees for the last 4, shall we? The other thing I would say is if we're judging which teams referees support on their ability to referee the game, there must be an awful lot of bloody Nottingham Forest fans as referees in this league, because they're all shit against us. Especially that Australian fella yesterday, second time in a row. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered, but we did not help the cause, did he? The referees, they're absolutely shocking. But you're absolutely right. I mean,
listen, they're also undermining officials in this league. We know, we point it out, everybody has, the whole country has, that VAR does not work properly. It's not being administered properly. It could be good, and it's not. It's a good tool that's not being used. The referees haven't been ingratiating themselves with good decisions. They've been making bad ones. Maybe they've been timid because VAR's there, hoping that will get them out of jail. Maybe they're just not very good. And maybe that's because we've got a culture of slagging them off all the time. And we have done on this podcast. We're not angels, but you see these performances and you get angry by them. Fans will do that. Fans have always done that. Before social media, it happened. After social media, it happened. That's a thing that's culturally ingrained. But what you don't do as a football club is what Nottingham Forest have done there and put it out in such a childish, ridiculous way. They've made themselves, as I say, a laughing stock. They've made themselves appear classless. And, when people tell you who they are, you need to believe them. And that's what Nottingham Forest have done.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great, isn't it? It's great.
I'm loving it. As I say, it has massively improved my mood. You were texting earlier this morning, getting prepared for this one, and you were going, you said to me, "What? You're not over it yet, are you?" I went, "Absolutely not." That was one of the worst afternoons of football I've seen in quite some time.
It was.
Then Nottingham Forest pitch up and do that, and I just feel like a weight's been lifted off, and I feel much lighter. And before I was thinking, we're approaching miracle territory to get this survival bid, the Great Escape, complete. And, it's massively harder now. Let's not make any bones about it. We've got 4 games left. I'm not sure you need to win 3 yet. We'll see how things pan out. But I was thinking miracle territory. Now I'm thinking, well, there might be a reaction to this. There will be a reaction. And you can go to Wolves and maybe pick something up, a point, be happy with that. And then Everton comes along. And I was thinking, because they've beat Forest, the pressure's off them, and that's going to be a massively harder test. But also, maybe it isn't. Maybe the pressure's off them. The pressure's always going to be on Luton. Maybe that works in their favour. It's going to be under the lights at Kennels Road. Maybe that would be a good thing. West Ham have clearly down tools, at least today on Sunday, and got to go there, and maybe there's something there. And then if you can take it down to the last day, who knows? I understand. I fully appreciate anyone that goes, well, that's it, Luton are down.
No, whoa.
Hold on, I haven't finished. I understand the point of view. I don't think it's there yet.
Yeah, no, do not think that Luton are down. We are not down by a long chalk. We weren't down whatever happened in that Everton Forest game today. We weren't down even if Forest hadn't lost their minds on Twitter today. Just watch that game, Everton against Notts Forest. They are terrible, right? They are both absolutely terrible. It was like 2 bald men fighting over a comb. It was that bad. It was terrible. I mean, you look at the first goal from Idrissa Gana Gate. It's the most scuffed shot from 25 yards that'll ever find the corner you'll ever see. To be fair to the second one, it's a decent strike. But it's 2 long-range efforts from Everton. Forest had 1 chance from Chris Wood, which Pickford made a blinding save from. That was it. There is no quality within... Take Morgan Gibbs-White out of Forest, and even he's becoming less of an impact at the minute. There is no quality at all. Go and watch that Chelsea-Everton game. They've down tools for Sean Dyche. And they were no better today. They just got lucky with a couple of long-range efforts. They've got 2 strikers who can't score. I mean, Calvert-Lewin, the other fella, Beto, I hope he's all right, actually. He went off injured. He got absolutely poleaxed in a head injury. He's not going to be playing against Brentford next week, that's for sure. And who knows, he might not even be playing against us in a fortnight's time.
That's a 10-day concussion protocol.
They're not getting away with that not being concussion, that's for sure. That was a nasty, nasty clash of heads. They are not good sides, right? So all of this, we need to win 3 games. No, we need to get 2 more points than Nottingham Forest. Now, here's where the situation lies. Next Saturday, Luton go to Wolves. Again, as we highlighted in the last podcast, before Nottingham Forest play. Nottingham Forest play Man City. We can wipe that off. They're not getting anything from Manchester City in a title race. So if we go and beat Wolves on Saturday, we're in exactly the same situation we would be in if we had beaten Brentford yesterday. All it means is we've got a game less to do it, but this fight is definitely not over. And I refer you back to the Great Escape that we've referred to on this podcast so many times. We got absolutely humiliated by Brentford. By Reading. We didn't show up. They're the other bogey team, aren't they? Reading and Brentford. I mean, could we not pick 2 more luxurious places than Brentford and bloody Reading Town? We got wiped out. It was you've said it many a time. It was your, oh my God, we're done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we go away to, I think it was Huddersfield in the following game, who were riding high in the table. We won that game, and we all know what happened from there. It built up the momentum. We then went to Hull, and we went to, played Blackburn at home, and we won it. We're in exactly that situation again. We've been thrashed. These boys are going to have exactly the same conversation. A lot of them were still involved at that time.
Yep.
They're going to have exactly the same conversation on Monday. They're going to put in exactly the same reaction on Saturday. The only difference is the quality of the team we're playing on Saturday is eminently better than the quality of team we played in the Great Escape, because we're playing a Premier League to a Championship team. However, if you saw the Wolves game on Saturday, they are littered with injuries. Absolutely battered. I mean, they've got 5 teenagers on the bench and 1 started for them as well. They are battered by injuries. This is not a done deal yet. We were absolutely shocking yesterday. Park it. You've endured it. Forget it. And get ready for Saturday, because we go again on Saturday.
Yeah, and that's where I've sort of come to it from a very long route of despondency.
You've taken the scenic route to get there.
Yeah, I've taken the scenic route all the way to a more positive outlook. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was helped by the Forest debacle.
But they are under so much pressure.
Yeah.
They can't get relegated. They'll fall apart if they get... They've spent way too much money. They've clearly got a wage bill that is way too high. There is a reason why social media accounts are posting things like that. They are all feeling the pressure. Nobody at our football club is feeling the pressure in that situation. If Luton go down this season, and we still hope, and we don't think it will happen, we still hope it doesn't happen. But if Luton go down this season, we will be in this position to go up again next season. If Forest or Everton go down, they are a real rebuild job for years to come. That is the difference. That is the thing we need to play. And that tweet highlighted perfectly the pressure that every single person at the City Ground in Nottingham are feeling. It's just this guy has let the cat out of the bag, whereas the rest of them are trying to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm here for it all day long. I might get it framed and put on my wall. That tweet is absolutely... Because regardless of what happens this season, that is one hell of a heads gone moment, and I absolutely love it. We've been telling you about the sort of reaction we get from Forest fans, and it will probably happen again on this comment thing, but they've been completely unreasonable. And unfortunately, one of the things that happened on Saturday was at a minute's applause for Big Joe Kinnear. And
how moving was it that the song got sung during that?
Oh yeah, no, it's great. And a couple of weeks ago when he actually passed away, we were reminded of some of the great quotes that he said, and he was that because he did manage at Forest as well. And he said the thing about the Nottingham Forest is that you can fart in the City Ground and someone will poke their head around the door and tell you they won the European Cup twice, and they're still believing that hype to this day, and they're not that team and not that club anymore. They spent 23 of the last 25 seasons in the Football League, and they seem to forget that. So I'm here for it. I'm here for what has happened and all the fallout from what's going to come. I hope they get the book thrown at them in whatever form that comes, and it is a cascade effect that just wipes out all confidence and anything. And I'd love to hear what the options they are considering are, because if they're just going to not play, and then they can incur some points or something.
Who'd notice?
Well,
if they don't play,
yeah.
I haven't noticed them playing any time that I've seen them recently. Pass it by. I mean, a few weeks ago we were setting up the podcast when they were playing against Tottenham, and they were terrible in the second half of that game. I mean, they were so bad today, so bad. They were.
Yeah,
we'll catch them.
Yeah, it's brilliant stuff. I mean, it is close, like you say. They're not going to get anything off City. They've got Chelsea, which you would think that Chelsea would win, but they've got nothing to play for anymore.
No, they can still get Europe, Chelsea.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They can still get Europe, and then all of a sudden that Burnley away game on the last day of the season that everyone's given them 3 points from. All of a sudden that could be who stays up and who goes down, whilst we've just pootering along against Fulham, minding our own business, whilst those two go at it to relegate one another.
Yeah,
the only annoying thing is they've got Sheffield United, right? Again, it's away. It's at Bramall Lane, where they were terrible yesterday. Surely they've got something in them, Sheffield United. Surely they've got something in them that they can offer something. It's not their last home game, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, because if it was their last home Premier League game, then you'd like to think that they'd at least go out in some sort of style. However, they're not down yet, are they, Sheffield United? It might be the game that sends them down. So just show something, Sheffield United. For God's sake, just something. But even if they don't, they've got a non-winnable game against Man City. It's not negotiable. You don't beat Man City at this stage of the season. You only have to look back to previous seasons. They've got Chelsea at home, penultimate game when we go to West Ham, who you said down tools. And they've got Burnley away in what could be the mother of all 6-pointers. There's no guarantees that this lot pick up any more than, say, 4 or 5 points. Therefore, you're looking at Luton winning 2 games of football and then potentially getting a draw on top, depending on how it all goes. 2 games of football to stay in the Premier League. We're not done yet.
Yeah, and it's that simple now, because goal difference gone. The last 2 games has absolutely wiped out the goal difference.
Yeah.
2 5-1 defeats is.
I mean, a lot of people were saying to me today, what do you want out of the Everton Forest game? The draw's the best result. And I'm like, I see where you're coming from, because both teams dropped points. But if Forest had drawn today, they'd have been 2 points ahead of us. Therefore, had we have won a game and they drew a game, they'd still be above us, because, like you say, the goal difference is gone now. Now they would have to match us for wins. Forest have got to match us for wins to stay up this season. However many games Luton win, they've got to win the same, because a draw's not going to catch us if we win. So I'm kind of with it. What I want is that Brentford that played yesterday to turn up against Everton on Saturday. Because if we do beat Wolves on Saturday, all of a sudden we've reeled Everton back in ahead of a cliffhanger of a Friday night at the end of the month. So,
well, yeah, I mean, hopefully, because really that win for Brentford against us, that was them safe, and they knew it. They were singing it. That's them safe. So maybe the shackles are off with them, and they can go and do a job there. So yeah, I mean, there is still plenty to play for, which I didn't feel like it for about 24 hours afterwards. Well, maybe you were more optimistic than I was, and I need that from somebody, because I was a bit down in the dumps about it. But there's a lot more to go. There's going to be some twists and turns, but I think we're probably still in a quite positive position if they can bounce back, which history says we have done.
that's the job. That's the job now. You've got to bounce back, boys. I don't need to tell you that. You're not stupid. You know that. Go back to 1990, Jimbo. We were 6 points adrift with 3 games left. Luton Town stayed in the top flight then. Nowhere near as bad a situation right now. And let's hope it doesn't get to that stage. Right, we've promised you Rob Edwards, and it's about time that we hear from the boss. He was pretty deflated, as you can imagine, after the game. In fact, if he was still in the ground at the end of the game, unlike his predecessor who got wiped out by Brentford, he did have the good grace of going round and apologising to all of the fans, and it was actually quite hard to see, given the credit that he's got in the bank. We didn't send James along to get any player reaction. That wasn't a game to get any player reaction from. That was a game to let them go and stew and do whatever they had to do after the game. But Rob did front up, and here's what he said in his post-match press conference.
A really difficult day. As good as Brentford were, I thought we were equally as bad. I feel like just reviewing the goals, looking at them now, because I haven't been able to review the whole game, obviously, but I felt we lacked an urgency and intensity that we haven't really lacked all season long, especially in our defensive work. And that's as a team, not just defenders. The first goal is a good example of that. Quick turnover. We don't close gaps. We don't quite see it quick enough. And they're a bit sharper onto things. First contact from a corner, the third goal. A really disappointing day. And it's hard to put my finger on it right now. We had our moments in the first half when the game was in the balance. We did. Chongi had a great chance. Alfie had one. We got into good positions, but we weren't ruthless enough at one end, and then we got punished. And then we, for the first time really this season, just looked like we showed a little lack of belief in that second half. And that's something that obviously we've got to make sure that we, snap out of very, very quickly. We know the importance of the game, and to lose it in that manner is just desperately disappointing right now. And tough day for us. I've got to say thank you to the supporters who stuck with us, and I apologise to them as well for them to live through that difficult day for them. I know we got a lot of credit in the bank for what, especially this group of players, for what they've given them over recent history, recent past, but we don't want to go through that again. So we've got to respond. I mean, it's not good enough, and it's not been often I've had to say that, if at all, really, this year. But today, I'm the one I shoulder it. I'm the manager, and I've got to hold my hand up in that moment.
When it's broken, handsome Rob, then you know it's bad, don't you?
Yeah, it wasn't a nice sight, and he's not had to do that many times in his career, but it must have hurt him really to go around apologising in that way. It's the only thing he can do. I mean, and it was the right thing to do. I mean, Graham Jones didn't, and that was probably the final nail in the coffin for people.
There was no way back after that, was there?
No. I mean, that was a worse defeat, obviously, but yeah, that's all he can do. I think people were still singing his name, and there was still plenty of people in the ground. I know I've seen the Twitter sphere, and there's a lot of people like complaining about some people leaving earlier, but I think most people still stayed to clap, and I've got no problems with really anyone that felt that was too much for them and they departed early. I mean, each to their own. There was a still sizable amount of people in there clapping. But there's one thing really. I think it's a chicken and an egg scenario here about the crowd and what the crowd can do. We talk so often about the power of Kenilworth Road and the fans and stuff, but yesterday was a library really, and it was a library before the first goal, which was a bit worrying. So it's like, is it that the players have to do something to get the fans up for it, or at this stage of the season are we saying the fans have to start that and get the players up for it, particularly as they've been so depleted, and after that game they don't look like they're in good form, and we're hoping that can change. So I don't know what the solution is really, but you sit in the Kenilworth Road end, so maybe you could offer more of an insight on it. But I feel like now, with 4 games to go, it's do or die. I think there has to be an element of the fans starting it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously 2 of these games are away, so that's by the by. Away fans always sing, and that won't be any different. I've never been to Molyneux actually, but I'm led to believe that you can get a decent atmosphere going in the away end there, so that'll be good. You can't at the London Stadium, that's just how it is, but there ain't going to be much of an atmosphere in the home end anyway, is there? But with regards to the 2 home games, we got a Friday night game under the lights, so that takes care of itself. And Jesus Christ, lads, if we're not up for it against Fulham, if there's something on it, give your ticket to someone else, because we all need to be up for the Fulham game. Now, what is it?
Why do you think it was quiet then?
Well, I thought it was quite quiet. Just literally, I think people could see within 5 minutes, Mengi and Gabe weren't at it. And that optimism of having those players back quickly turned to the reality of, we're not it. They're not here. These 2, they're there in body, but that was it. I think with Luton, you have to start with a bit of tempo, and I think that is down to the players. To be fair, before the game, when the players finished their warm-up, they were given an ovation. There was lots of come on Lutons and everything. So from that point of view, it's fine. But the game just didn't start, did it? We didn't start. It didn't start. So I think that they need to get on the front foot. If they can't get on the front foot, they need to do something to get the crowd going. Thunder into a challenge, or, block something, get up and get the crowd going. I mean, Morris is very good at getting the crowd going. If we get a corner, when you go and take the corner, get the crowd going. Just do something to G the crowd up and get them into it. A horrible refereeing decision. I mean, they didn't come until 3 or 4-0 down, did they? But something like that. But we need to be on the front foot. We need to be at them. You think of the Brighton game.
Yeah.
We were at them right from the start. We were winning the ball back. We were snappy. And it might just have been that the players knew that they were going to carry 2 or 3 players yesterday. And the ones that weren't the ones that were being carried were like, we're not sure. Maybe they knew the risks. They understood the risks. They weren't completely sure it was one worth taking. Whatever it was, there is a reason why we were so bad yesterday. You and I aren't qualified enough to judge it because we're not inside the dressing room. But there was a reason why we were so bad, because if that was the norm, we'd be that bad every week.
True.
There's a reason why we were that bad. They'll find it this week. They're an honest bunch. They will talk to themselves, amongst themselves. They'll thrash it out. I mean, if you're worried about the fact that it's a silent dressing room or anything like that, I'll take you back to the Emirates Stadium where Ted Mengi bawled out Ross Barkley, of all people, in front of everyone at the Emirates when he didn't track Smith Rowe for their second goal. This is not a group of people who are timid and shy in the dressing room. They're open and honest with each other. And they'll thrash it out. But yeah, in terms of getting the crowd going, it is a two-way thing. It's just as simple as that. It is a two-way thing. Now, it won't be against Everton. All right. There's this, I don't want to call it rivalry, because it's not a rivalry, really. Just a club that have got points deductions and won't stop whinging about it. But because of that, you know, there is going to be a lot of banter flying around and things like that. When we went to Goodison in the cup game, the Luton fans were singing, "Shut up, Everton, it's only 10 points." And that kind of thing. So the atmosphere of the Everton game is going to be absolutely fine. And like I said, if it's not fine for the Fulham game, but going forward, if we're in this situation, it simply is a two-way thing. The players do need to be on the front foot. And if you're not, as a player, and you feel that you're not, and you need something from the crowd, don't be afraid to stand there and ask for it. Just lift your arms, get the crowd going. It's not a bad thing. What's the negative effect? Okay, the opposition see that you're doing it, but you still got the crowd going. They're still going to feel it, you know? So if we're not giving you what you want, boys, and I know one or two, not necessarily players watch this, but certainly staff members and backroom staff and everything else do watch this. If you're not getting what you want from the crowd, don't be afraid to ask for it. Just Ted Mengi does it a lot. Carlton Morris, whenever he gets a corner in front of the Kenilworth end, when he puts the ball to the corner, he asks for, just ask for it. If you're not getting it, you'll get it. You will get it. But yeah, I think it is a two-way thing.
Yeah, I mean, I suspected that. It was just disappointing all round, really, on Saturday, wasn't it? From terraces onto the pitch and everywhere. It just didn't happen, and it was the worst performance at the wrong time. And yeah, you just got to park it now.
There was a reason why Rob Edwards did not say it was a must-win game, and that is simply because all Saturday was an opportunity to give ourselves a much easier ride home. Now, we've not done that. We've made it harder for ourselves. But in essence, the task is exactly the same. We've got to finish 2 points above. Sorry, we'll get 2 more points than Notts Forest between now and the end of the season before we worry about points deductions and all of that. And hopefully today's nonsense means that they're not going to get any points back at the very least. That's one thing the Premier League can do, not give them that back. So it's still all to play for. 4 huge games to come. And this is going to go right down to the wire. I've said it for a few podcasts. It always does where Luton are concerned. We never stay up the easy way. Always goes down to the wire. That's pretty much it for this episode of the podcast, but we can't, of course, leave without giving you the winners of our prize giveaway. First of all, before we reveal the 4 winners, thank you so much for everyone who got involved in this giveaway. Absolutely loads of entries. We've gone way into the hundreds for entries, of course. Wasn't a difficult question. And funnily enough, there wasn't nobody who got it wrong either. Everyone got it right. Of course, Luton Town's first win this season was against Everton. And my God, do we hope that, 2 wins time is Everton as well. So well done to everyone who got that right. You probably don't deserve a pat on the back. Really, it was that easy. But hey, there you go. So we have got 4 prizes up for grabs. 2 tickets to the presentation evening, a signed shirt, a £50 club voucher, and club shop voucher, and another £50 club shop voucher. So shall we've put all of the names of all of the entrants who've got the answer right into a random name picker thing on the laptop that's in front of us. So shall we do the presentation evening tickets first?
Let's go for it. Yeah.
So the winner of the 2 tickets to the presentation evening is
Alexis Keir.
Alexis Keir. Congratulations, you have 2 tickets to the presentation evening. My colleague Helen will be in touch with you regarding those shortly. I'll pass on your details and she'll be in touch of how you can claim those tickets. What are we doing next? Club shop vouchers?
Let's go for it.
Do
Got
the
two of those.
two club shop vouchers. So the first £50 club shop voucher goes to...
Tense.
You need a drum roll, don't you?
Nigel Bing.
Nigel Bing. Congratulations, Nigel. You've got yourself a £50 club shop voucher. I will get that to you. Do give me a little bit of time to get that to you. We are heavily involved in organising the presentation evening, but I'll get that to you as soon as I can do. I'll email you sometime this week and get your address of where to send that and everything. Second £50 club shop voucher goes to, drum roll,
Stuart Timms.
Stuart, you've got yourself a £50 club shop voucher. Again, I'll drop you an email sometime this week, get your address and everything, and we'll get that sent out to you. One prize left, and it's the prize that a lot of people message saying they would love to win, and that is the signed shirt. That goes to...
Karen Robertson.
Congratulations, Karen. Signed shirt is coming your way. Again, give me a few days. I will get in touch with you. I've got your email address. I will get in touch with you and get that sent out to you. What we're going to do now is we're going to select 2 reserve winners just in case there's an issue with you guys accepting your prizes, or indeed you choose not to claim them. We're going to keep the names of these reserve winners to ourselves so that we don't get your hopes up. But if someone doesn't claim their prize, you will get the prize that's the first prize that's not claimed. So 2 reserve winners, mate. We'll sort them out after the podcast.
Yeah, get involved. Claim those prizes.
Claim the prizes. As I say, Alexis, my colleague Helen, who's been on the podcast before, she'll be in touch with you regarding the presentation evening. She's doing all of the organising of that, and I'll get in touch with the other 3 winners via email sometime this week. So congratulations to everyone. Thank you so much to everyone who messaged saying how much you enjoy the podcast when you sent your entries in. We really do appreciate your support and the support of everybody who was subscribed to our YouTube channel. We are very, very close to that 1,500 subscriber mark. We'd love to hit that.
Tell your friends
Before the end of the season. Yeah, so do please share, and friends and family, if they're not subscribed, then do subscribe. Again, on the horizon, we've got a Friday night games podcast are going to be coming at all sorts of different times at you. So if you've subscribed and got your notifications, you'll find out exactly when the next one drops. And hopefully it's a lot happier than the one we've just recorded. Thankfully, Notts Forest sorted.
I was pretty happy about that.
Thankfully, they sorted that out.
Silver linings, people.
Absolutely. That is it for this episode of the podcast. Thanks to James for his thoughts and indeed excitement over the Twitter action of the day.
I love it. Thank you, Notts Forest.
Needless to say, Jimbo, no one got the correct score right.
Yeah, not me either.
I definitely didn't get it right. And I've got to do some work because there's only 4 games left for me to overhaul you in that regard. Thank you for watching or listening, however it is that you've consumed this podcast. Obviously, the early parts of this one's a tough listen. We know we didn't really want to go through it either, but it has to be done. So yeah, thanks.
Stuck it out this long. You're a legend.
Exactly. Thanks very much for your continued support. Also, thanks for the support of the Hightown Club, who continue to stage our studio for us, to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all of the designs that you see on set. Until next time, which will be a preview of that huge game at Wolves. From James and myself, come on, you Hatters.
Can you believe it? We are Premier League! Yes!
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got these massive souls.
We're Luton people, and that's